Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. As always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. Happy Thursday, everybody. We are live here from Amalie Arena ahead of the game tonight between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Calgary Flames. Just finished up morning skate. If you hear some noise in the background, that's actually the Calgary Flames on the ice, including a guy that we'll talk about here momentarily. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Man, a lot of great things coming here in the next couple weeks, next couple months right here on the Recher podcast. Man, what a great show yesterday. A lot of great social clips being sent out on my behalf. So I hope you guys can like them and share them and continue this growth that we've had so much here in the first couple months of the show. I'll be here tonight. Obviously, you see suited and booted right here. Our guy Nick could not turn off Cowherd fast enough today. Okay, that's great. That's why you're here, to watch the Recher podcast, talking all things local and beyond. What do we have for you today? A bunch of great stuff on the program. At 12:30, Tracy West is going to join us, the Valspar Championship Tournament Director. Big announcement made on Monday about the extension of the partnership between the Valspar and Innisbrook there, the Copperhead course, which we got to play 12 holes, Aaron and I, on Monday. It was soaking wet. We had a good time, though. So we'll talk all things Valspar with Tracy at 12:30. At 1 o'clock today, JC Allen from Sports Illustrated is going to join us to talk Lavonte David and the Buccaneers and the NFL Combine. So 1 o'clock, JC will join us, and then 1:30, Ed Encina, Tampa Bay Times Lightning insider. He'll join us talking about this red-hot Tampa Bay Lightning team as they go for 7 straight wins tonight against the Flames at Amalie Arena. Big shout-out to Nick and Jeff. Thank you all for the kind words. Really, really fun show for everybody out there. And listen, when I go to morning skate, I get here early. I make sure I send out a bunch of different videos, and we have a lot of fun. We're talking about our bolts. Trying to make sure that I get everybody in here. Yep. All right, cool. Make sure you share the link too when you join us here on the program. And for all those that joined us on the Beckles and Recher podcast yesterday, we had some video technical difficulties on the program, so we apologize for that. We're still working. It's still a work in progress over there. A little less buttoned up than we are here on this podcast. Fingers crossed, I don't want to jinx myself, but everything goes pretty well here when we get internet connection and Wi-Fi, and we're knocking on wood, everything's good, whether we're at my house or here at Amalie Arena. Last night, Lightning Block Party Live, the special guest was Darren Radish. Great to hear from him. I know the episode that was just released with Andre Vasilevsky came out yesterday. The Fartgate comments with finding out who farted during Andre Vasilevsky's presser a couple of years ago, that was released. It was Austin Watson. And I can't stress to you enough how funny that was. And shout out to Christopher Cole and Dolan G. Fartgate with Andre Vasilevsky. I don't know if you guys saw this, but we're interviewing Vazzy in the locker room, and all of a sudden we hear, and I'm like, what the hell is that? We thought it was actually a media member. I was like, oh my gosh, how unprofessional is that? All of a sudden we turn around and it's Austin Watson himself. We got to play it for you guys here if you haven't seen it, because it's so funny. I can't believe the Lightning actually put it together like this and revealed, all right, this is actually what happened. All right, here we go. Case officially closed. Yeah, the video's right here. I'm going to play this for you guys right now because it is hilarious. Give me 1 second. Let's see. Is this right here? No. Here we go. All right, check this out. This is the whole thing with Greg Wolf and Andre Vasilevsky and Braden Coburn from the other day. It just doesn't get much better than this.
Ever get to the bottom of Fartgate? Did we ever get to the bottom of Fartgate? Remember the interview that you did and somebody let one rip?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it wasn't great feeling last game, but
Jay Recher?
Okay, yeah.
They said my name like it was me. It wasn't me.
Who was the culprit?
I know who that was.
Who was it?
Yeah, I mean, do you have any guesses?
I thought Jay Recher, I thought you said it might have been Waddy.
It's pretty impressive. I guess it was so loud that all the mics pick it up like
the stalls like amplify the sound. Is that they're hollow underneath? So
ever get to the bottom?
I mean, and the way that they made it seem right there, it made it seem like it was me at first because Vasi didn't commit. It was Austin Watson. But gosh, man, it just shows you Andre Vasilevsky really coming out of his shell. And I'll never forget the first time. Jake brings up a good point. What's up, Jake? Could Fartgate be the greatest American sports scandal of our time? It may be. But I remember the first time we heard from Andre Vasilevsky. And it was after that Stanley Cup final game back in 2015 after Ben Bishop got hurt against the Blackhawks. Remember that? Bishop and Victor Hedman collide, and here comes Andre Vasilevsky. And I remember being in the Lightning locker room and going in there, and Brian Briesman, the head of PR, standing right next to him. Right next to Vasi, because Vasi was so uncomfortable. We didn't think that he was going to get into any of these games, and his English wasn't all that great. And there was all of these cameras. Because remember, and you guys know this if you don't remember, the playoffs are a different animal. And when you are a team, and once you go deeper and deeper into the playoffs, it's not just American media, it's not just Canadian media, it's international media. People from all over the world come here, and there was just all of the a herd of buffaloes surrounding Andre Vasilevsky. And he was so meek, and he didn't really say much at all. And now to be able to see him with our guy, Greg Wolf and Braden Coburn, and happy birthday to Braden Coburn today. Clap it up for our guy, Double Nickels, number 55. Go wish him a happy birthday on social media. But to see Andre Vasilevsky really open up to those guys and to be able to let people in, it's awesome to see. And you can tell that Vasi is he's more comfortable in his own skin. He's taking it a lot less serious when it comes to what's going on after the games. Obviously, nobody's more serious. Nobody takes it more serious than Andre Vasilevsky when he's out there. Nobody better than the big cat, right? But he's learned that after games, you got to let it go a little bit. You got to chill out. And ironically enough, and this is why you want to go watch the block party, go check it out on all the Lightning social channels. He said the person that has helped him really not take things so seriously and to be able to turn the page is Nikita Kucherov, which is kind of surprising, right? Because you remember, how could you not? Nikita Kucherov, not a guy that definitely wants to speak to the media. I don't think he's really rushing to be a member or be a participant in the block party. But he's been able to help Andre Vasilevsky. And I hope that Kuch can do the same thing too, because I want to be able to understand what goes on between the ears of Nikita Kucherov. His mindset, the way he looks at the game is unparalleled in the National Hockey League. I'm not saying that other players don't work hard, but Kucherov does it in a different way. The recipe for his success is a lot different than Connor McDavid, and it's a lot different than Nathan MacKinnon, two of the other great forwards in the league. When you look at Kucherov and what he's able to do, it happens at a different speed. Everybody else could be flying around, losing their mind, going crazy, looking like a bull in a china shop. But everything with Nikita slows down. And I got a chance to have conversations back in 2023 or 2024. It was the All-Star game in Toronto. And two of the guys that stood out, ironically enough, were Nathan MacKinnon and Matthew Barzal. Two of the better stick handlers, two guys that are two of the fastest guys in the league. And they just stressed so much how they were impressed with Nikita Kucherov and the way he went about his business and the way that on the ice he was so calm and he didn't rush. And it looked like everybody else was doing at 100 million miles an hour, and just Nikita was just nice and easy, going with the flow. And to get that love and praise and respect from your teammates, that says a lot. Nobody in the league looks at Nikita Kucherov and doesn't regard him as one of the most just incredible athletes, incredible wingers that we've ever seen. Shout out to my guy, Bart Hill. All right, so let's hear from some of the guys. These are one-on-one conversations that I've had with some of the members of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And we'll start with Nick Paul, because Nick is one of those guys that has been able to go up and down the lineup, doing a little bit of everything for this team. He can play center, he can play wing, and we know going into the season, one of the big onuses for this club was we have to be better 5-on-5. And we know with Nick Paul being such a two-way center that he's a big part of it. So let's hear what Nick had to say about the team's recent success and also their improved play there 5-on-5.
Yeah, 6-game winning streak. What do you think is kind of the key to kind of keeping that momentum going tonight against Calgary before you guys hit the road?
Yeah, just playing the same way. Don't change the way we're playing. There's obviously a reason why we're winning these hockey games, and we just kind of got to build off that resting.
What about playing with Hagel and Cirelli and then going maybe away from them and kind of going back and forth? Coop, man, put those lines in the blender. Do you have to change your game at all regardless of who you're playing with?
Just winger and center is basically the main thing. And I know from when I signed here, that's kind of my role. Is I'm like that Swiss Army knife where I can play wherever, whenever. So just something I've been comfortable with my game over the last couple of years here, being just able to be fluent in positions. So, when a coach is able to trust you and throw you up and down the lineup, it's just trying to make the team's job easier with chemistry and line mates and all that.
A lot of people were asking, after last season, what can this team do to get better 5-on-5? What can we say on the special teams? What kind of concerted effort was that going into the season? And do you feel like most of the playoffs that you guys have really kind of, I don't want to say accomplished that feat, but at least taking steps in the right direction?
Yeah, we just limit ourselves, shooting ourselves in the foot. Anytime you're trying to make extra plays and neutral zone and just in high risk areas, you're just putting your D on stress, your goalie on stress, it's going the other way on a rush. It's a big rush lead. A lot of goals are scored off the rush and mistakes in high risk areas. So our biggest thing was, our team loves to score and loves to have the puck and loves to rip around the O-zone, but getting there is the key way, whether it's just the plays to dump it in, having the smarts just to dump it in and get the puck back, versus when you see the rush and you have an odd man, and you can start making plays. So I think the big thing for us is just not forcing rushes, forcing plays, because I think when we were going through a little trouble there, we were trying to force too much and there's too many rushes again. So the big thing for us is just being smart. Our D zone's good when we get into it, 5-on-5 and creating second quicks and outnumbering guys and breaking the puck out. But when you're on rush, you're end of your shift and you try to make the extra play, and now you're on for a minute and you have fresh guys, that's when we started getting in trouble. So I think for us, just buying into the game plan, being smart, plays.
One of the things that jump out to me about Paul's comments there were, I knew my role when I came here. And we speak about roles a lot on this show, regardless of the sport. One of the things that really hurts success of a team is when guys don't know their roles. When you have a guy that may think he's the best player, but he's not playing like the best player, or he may think that he's better than he is, or even if it's not a personal thing, maybe injuries have something to do with it, where you have a guy that's your ace of your starting rotation, but the only reason why he's your ace is because a couple of guys were banged up and they're injured. Nick Paul, ever since that first day with the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I'll never forget, one of the most poignant press conferences that we've had is when Nick Paul spoke to the local media. And he was in a bus stop in Ottawa, waiting to get on the bus, waiting to take it over to the airport to be able to get on a plane and get here to the Tampa Bay area. And this guy was not even a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning for 2 hours. He wasn't even on this side of the border yet. And he just shook his head in amazement and said, I can't believe how welcome I feel already. He hasn't even met these guys. And he spoke about how Steven Stamkos' wife had already reached out to his girlfriend. They're welcoming everybody. They're bringing everybody in. And it's not the type of player that Julien Brisebois brings in. It's the type of person. And for them, a couple of years ago now, to tell him, hey, this is what we see from you. We're investing in you and investing in your future. And we want you to be a Swiss Army knife. We want you to be a guy that can play center at times, win some big draws, be a matchup guy. We also want you to play on the wing. Play on the wing, fly up and down the ice, man. Go be a guy that can score goals, 20 goals. Go do your thing. And the fact that you are told that early on in your tenure with the team, I mean, you kind of know what to expect. And that's why you've seen him incrementally get better. Spending time in the offseason with Nikita Kucherov. He's let us know that really early this season. And I remember him looking and going, I can't believe how good Nikita Kucherov is when the puck comes around the boards, and just being able to get that puck off his backhand to the forehand, being able to take that puck off the wall and to be able to get it to somebody else. And Nick Paul said, I knew I had to get out there with him in the offseason. I knew I had to work with him. And you can see, go look at that tonight. When you're watching the game, look at how Nick Paul takes the puck off of the boards. He put in that time in the offseason with Nikita Kucherov, and now it's paying dividends. One guy that it's been great to see back with the Tampa Bay Lightning is JJ Moser. And he is just I got to listen. This is going to be about 90 seconds to 2 minutes, but our conversation today was probably about 20 minutes, and the majority of the conversation was about Manchester United. We probably could have had him on for an hour. I'm going to try to get him on the show because I think we need to talk. We actually came up with the idea that him and I need to make sure that we have a discussion over how to improve Manchester United and then send it over to the Glazers. I think, you never know. Jay and JJ, it's got a nice ring to it. But speaking to JJ about his return to the team, playing with Victor Hedman and all that jazz, here it is.
Glad
from
to see
earlier
you back
today.
in the lineup, brother. How's it been? 2 games in now. Does it feel like kind of the beginning of the season? What does it feel like to you?
It has been feeling great to just walk out on the ice surface and just feel the fans, feel the vibe, feel the energy. That has been the greatest so far.
I think it's one of the most, you missed 28 games. You're relatively new. You haven't even played a full season, but the fans, man, they're behind you. You feel that? You feel like there's a mutual appreciation between you and the Bolts Nation?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, every time you step out there, you see the fans go crazy. You feel the stadium being, sold out, so many people in attendance every single game and cheering you on. That's what you miss most, honestly, when you can't play. And other than that, obviously, first game back, you always feel a little rusty, but then second game felt already way better. You felt where you're like, all right, I'm home.
Me and you were here a couple of weeks ago talking soccer for about 20 minutes. How much did it kill you not to be out there with the team for that long?
Oh, it was not the easiest, but yeah, I think that's part of the job. It's crucial to stay positive and just work on getting back as soon as you can, and then appreciate the moment when you can be back.
And playing with Victor Hedman, playing with 77.
100%. I mean, he makes it way easier. He helps you out in all kinds of situations, off the ice, on the ice. So yeah, certainly has been easier playing alongside him.
JJ Moser. Sorry, cut it off a little bit. He didn't say much more other than that, but it has been kind of revealing that the Tampa Bay Lightning fan base and Bolts Nation have been so welcoming to JJ Moser. He missed 28 games. He hasn't played all that much for the Bolts, right? And he comes across in a deal for Mikhail Sergachev. Well, whether you're a big-time Sergachev fan or not, I mean, he did win 2 Stanley Cups with this team. So you know what he was all about. So JJ Moser and obviously Connor Geekie come across, but JJ Moser played 27 games for this team, sat out the next 28, and has played the last 2. But for some reason, this 24-year-old kid from Switzerland, second-round pick back in 2021, he's almost already a fan favorite. And we saw it a couple weeks ago when he was a guest on the Block Party live there at the Cigar City Tap Room, Thunder Alley, presented by Highlight with our friends Greg Wolf and Braden Coburn. But I don't know if I've ever seen a guy become a fan favorite that quickly with the team and not have him it's not like he has 10 goals as a defenseman. It's not like he plays like Lilleberg where he has a bunch of big hits. I don't know if there's been any crazy moments that has led to him being so respected and so well loved here in the Tampa Bay area. I just think it's him. It's his disposition. It's the way that he plays. I think there's just an underlying respect of this kid. We know how difficult it is to play with Victor Hedman, just because he's like a wild horse out there. He's going to go all over the place, and you need a guy that is going to be in the same spot at all times and be consistent. And that's why it's not always the best defenseman that can go play with Victor Hedman. It's a certain type of player. And for years, we were wondering, all right, is Recher going to be that guy? And it didn't work out. It's just their styles don't really mesh. Now you see Chernak with Ryan McDonough. It's phenomenal. It's great. A guy like Jan Ruda, who's probably a third defenseman for the rest, for most of his career, but he was a first pairing defenseman with Victor Hedman. So you see the difference. It's about styles and what meshes well together. And this is another reason why you got to tip your hat to Julian Breezeball, because for years this team has been trying to go left-handed defenseman, right-handed defenseman, but it's two left-handed defensemen playing together with Victor Hedman and JJ Moser. And it's worked out really well. And I was trying to get a hold of Darren Radish today, but he quickly ran out. I'm going to try to get it to talk with him next week. But I was a little concerned that when JJ Moser came back, what was that going to mean for Darren Radish? Because when he went from the third pairing to the first pairing to play with Victor Hedman, I think he really raised the level of his game. And I wonder, do the Lightning really need to make a move on the blue line now? Do they need to bring in another guy? Are they comfortable with the pairings that they have there? They're going to go 11-7 tonight. You heard it here. John Cooper announced it after morning skate. No 12-6, so Atkinson out, Perbix in. So you're going to see Hedman and Moser. You're going to see McDonough and Chernak. And then you're going to see Radish, Perbix, and Lilleberg mixing in. And you never know, because we saw the other night, Hedman played a little bit with Radish. You want to ease JJ into it. But it's a good problem to have when you have 7 good defensemen, and not even say Max Scherzer, who's down in the AHL. That's an NHL-level defenseman. The Lightning have 8 guys that you could put there on the blue line that can do the job. Now, do you use one of those guys in a move to help you get a forward? We shall see. Something special that we found out at morning skate today is that former Tampa Bay Lightning forward and Stanley Cup champion Blake Coleman. We know he was going to be in action tonight for Calgary, but what not many of us knew is that tonight is going to be Blake Coleman's 600th career game in the National Hockey League. One of the most important members of that Tampa Bay Lightning Stanley Cup winning back-to-back team, the back-to-back Stanley Cup winning teams. And John Cooper didn't know that. So he was asked by one of the members of the Calgary Flames media kind of what he meant to this team, what he meant to this organization. And I thought this was a really nice moment from Coop about Colsey. Let's take a listen together.
Yeah, well, those are some pretty fond memories, let's be honest. Yeah, Colsey, obviously great for us. I mean, you talk about one of the foundations of kind of, I think that, everybody talks about the third line, quote unquote, that can win you cups. I think those guys are the ones that have been a foundation for that, for teams trying to build those type of lines. And somebody that, first of all, he's a class act. And, but just find ways for big goals, big times. He all those unsung hero things for a kid that had scored a lot of goals in this league. He was on the penalty kill. He checked. We don't win without him. That was ultimately it. And when you had to leave, it's completely understandable. These guys, when you win cups and you're strapping the salary cap up, whether it's a flat cap, you cheer for the guys to go and get rewarded for their efforts. But sure, we should it could have been there.
You got that right, buddy. You got that right. I wish that Blake Coleman could have stayed here. Hell, I wish all those guys could have stayed here. And imagine if the COVID season didn't happen and the cap didn't stay flat and the cap went up incrementally those years. Do you keep a Cologne? Do you keep a Palat? Do you keep a Coleman? Do you keep a Gaudreau? Do you keep a Yanni Gord, right? That's a question that we'll never know. But what we do know is that Tampa Bay Lightning team does not win back-to-back cups without Blake Coleman, Barclay Goodrow, and Yanni Gord. There was never a question asked to John Cooper during that time period of, oh, what's going to happen? Are you going to break those guys up? Who's going to get the first? Like you could just write it down every single game. You knew who was starting game for the Lightning. It didn't matter if they were home. It didn't matter if they were on the road. It didn't matter if they had first change or last change. It didn't matter if they were playing, the Providence AHL Bruins or Connor McDavid. Every single period, the third line started with Blake Coleman, Barclay Goodrow, and Yanni Gourde. And no matter what happened, you knew you were getting 100% from those guys. Blake Coleman scored some huge goals for the Bolts. And he just did a little bit of everything. You can look up on YouTube Blake Coleman highlights. This guy has scored some incredible goals in his career for the Devils and obviously here with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I remember when he got traded here, his wife was pregnant. It was again another thing of we lose kind of the sight, we kind of lose the idea and we lose sight of the fact. There you go. We lose sight of the fact sometimes that these guys are human beings. And we lose sight of the fact that they got other things going on rather than just playing hockey. We know they get paid millions of dollars. We know that that's their main goal and all that jazz. But like his wife is pregnant, right? Like think about that. His wife was pregnant and he's like, all right, now I'm going from Jersey. Now I'm in Tampa. What the hell's going on? And he assimilated himself so well. And it seemed like early on, the Lightning were trying not to just put 19 and 20 together, not put Goodrow and Coleman together, and just, all right, we'll see where these guys fit in. We'll put Barclay Goodrow over here. We'll put Blake Coleman over here. We won't necessarily put them on the penalty kill together. Because if you go back and you just do your research and look at those first couple games, they didn't start off with those guys. They wanted to keep them apart, figuring, we'll just have 2 good penalty killing units. Well, that lasted probably less than a week. And then Barclay Goodrow and Blake Coleman, they put them together, and it was just like peanut butter and jelly, those guys. They played on the PK together. They were the first guys over the boards on the penalty kill. They were the first line with Yanni Gourde. And as John Cooper alluded to there, you don't win the Stanley Cups without guys like Blake Coleman. So that's why going into the trade deadline coming up in 9 days now, there's going to be teams out there trying to make a big splash. There's going to be teams out there trying to get a guy that's a big-time goal scorer or a big-time defenseman. I get that. But the guys that you bring in at this time of year that really help you win championships are usually middle 6 guys, second and third D pairing guys. And when you look back at some of the most important players outside of the Kucherovs and the Points and the Stammers and the Heddies of the world, it was Ryan McDonough on that second defensive unit with a guy like Eric Chernak. It was before the 2020 season when Julien Brisebois didn't freak out. He didn't fire John Cooper. He didn't panic. You know what he did? He brought in a 4th-line winger named Patrick Maroon, and he brought in a 3rd-line defenseman in Kevin Shattenkirk. And then he went out and got 2 third-line players at the deadline, Barclay Goodrow and Blake Coleman. Those are the type of moves that help you win championships. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. These moves that teams make in the preseason, I said it last year when it came to the Atlanta Falcons, trying to go out and get these big-time pass rushers and this big all-pro safety and this and that. Those aren't always the moves. Those aren't the moves that, all right, wow, you're the champion. And then the trade deadline. You don't win the championship at the trade deadline. Nobody went into the postseason that year for the Tampa Bay Lightning going, or around the National Hockey League looking at the Lightning going, wow, look at those moves, Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow. There were other players that were brought in on other teams that were first-line centers and first-line wingers and power play aficionados on defense that people looked at and said, that's a winning move right there. That team's going to win the cup. So give me some of the under-the-radar signings. I keep bringing up a guy like Josh Anderson. Somebody like that, a second or third line guy that's going to be able to play with Hagel and Cirelli, a guy that's going to be able to play with Nick Paul, maybe another centerman. So you put Paul up on that second line full time. Julien Brisebois and his crew right now are scouring the National Hockey League, seeing what type of player they're going to bring in. And I say that lightly because it's not always about the player. It's about the person. That's the most important thing. And as you hear the horn here at Amalie Arena, we know we're going to have our, the Skate of Dreams going on where you're able to play here at Amalie Arena. Sonia Bryson Kirksey, They're going to have a recorded national anthem. They didn't play it yet on Tuesday, which I thought was a little weird. But we're always showing love to Sonia and everything Tampa Bay Lightning and all things Team Tampa Bay. And speaking of Team Tampa Bay, she is one of the most prominent figures of Team Tampa Bay. And she is the tournament director of the Valspar Championship, our good friend, Tracy West. Hello, Tracy. How are you?
Hey, Jay. I'm doing fantastic. We have 2 weeks to go to the Valspar Championship.
It's amazing when somebody said the number the other day, and I was like, oh, my gosh, it'll be here before you know it. My first time getting out on the course on Monday to finally be able to play, because all these years for Media Day, I'd always have to rush back to the radio station, but I get a chance to play. And thank you to you and everybody there for letting us play for as long as humanly possible. It was so funny. Aaron Jacobson and I, we looked like a couple of wet animals when we were done. And we were like, we got 12 holes in. It was awesome, though. We had such a great time. So thank you to everybody over there for letting us go out there and play in inclement weather, and just shout out to everybody that actually was out there. Dave Randorf, we were right behind him, and we were like, I never thought I would enjoy a hot shower as much as I did Monday afternoon. But how great was that on Monday to be able to see so many people out there?
I cannot believe you guys went out and played after Media Day. That wasn't just a sprinkle. Inclement weather is, you're being kind. Obviously, it's beautiful weather all the time, right? And the one day it's Media Day, it pours. But it was still a great day because we had a really wonderful morning and announcement.
You got that right. Yeah. And we every year when my parents now make it a destination every single year now. They come down from New York, Valspar weekend. They're so excited. We love sitting by the green there on the 8th hole. And I parred the 8th hole the other day. So I was very happy. And for me, I was like, stay out of the rough, stay away from the sand. And I was just so proud. It's like my favorite hole now. But yeah, so exciting. And listen, the announcement you just alluded to there, through 2030. I mean, it's incredible. I'm talking to Rondé Barber after it. He goes, Jay, this is a big deal. It's a big deal. I mean, to have this sponsorship with Valspar through 2030, Tracy, I mean, to be able to have this PGA event stay here in the team, in the Tampa Bay area, what a great thing.
Yeah, it really, truly is a great thing for this community, not only for Valspar, but obviously for this community. I mean, to have a PGA Tour event, right? There's only 46 of them, right? So to be a community, to have a PGA Tour event, all our neighbors and friends be able to come out and watch the finest pros, in the game, be playing right in front of them, so just instead of just watching on TV, it's a big deal. And the economic impact, I mean, we generate about a $65-70 million annual economic impact into the community. Charity, obviously last year we gave 1.36. We're hoping to do, similar numbers this year. Since the tournament's inception in 1977, we've given over 51 million. So it's a big deal for the community. And plus the coverage that we get on Golf Channel and on NBC, not only in the United States, but in over 220 countries. We're representing the Tampa Bay community and hopefully encouraging tourism, throughout the year to come and not only say, hey, I'm going to go play that Copperhead course at Innisbrook, but whoa, look at those beautiful beaches. Look at everything else there is to do. So it's a big deal for this community.
Yeah, and it's so funny you say that because we were at the Army-Navy game up in Boston a couple of years ago and we saw Rob Gronkowski and we were talking about the Valspar and he goes, Jay, I had so much fun dancing up there on the deck. It was a blast. He's like, I don't know if I've ever had that much fun at a golf tournament before. And I was just like, oh my gosh, we need to get Tracy on the phone and send this video to her. But it's just, that's the thing, right? I mean, how crazy is that it's, even though it's a great golf tournament, right? And you said it's one of 46?
Mm-hmm.
One of 46, yes. Right? But the way that everybody gets together from Team Tampa Bay, when you see everybody interact, when you see all the professional sports teams, the local dignitaries, I mean, that's got to make you feel good that you get so much input and so much love and involvement from people here in our area.
Absolutely. I mean, the tournaments are happening, right? I mean, we've morphed, over the years since Valspar became title sponsor in 2014. They really made a strong effort to say, how do we make sure that this isn't just golf fans, or avid golf fans coming out and watching the Valspar Championship? How do we really truly make it a community happening? So we made a concerted effort to take what was our tagline of the most colorful PGA Tour tournament in the world and really live that, not only literally what you see on the golf course, but figuratively. So adding the concerts, all the extra fan enhancements that we do. In fact, we were just named by the PGA Tour the most fan-first event on the PGA Tour, meaning that we've got the most amount of things and interesting things for fans to come out and do. So it truly is a happening. Gronk can come out and have a great time, just like everyone else. And as you said, Team Tampa Bay is really involved. I mean, we have partnerships from all the major teams, in Tampa. I mean, the Bucks are out here doing stuff, the Lightning, the Rays, they've been super supportive over the years. So it's kind of, if you're not coming out to the Valspar Championship at least one day, you're missing out. And where were you, right? You have to be here.
It's a FOMO event. You get fear of missing out. I'm at least a 2-day guy. I'm a Friday, Sunday, because it's just, I remember when we were playing, I forgot one of the holes, and Keegan Bradley a couple of years ago, I was following him around, and I'm like, man, this hole doesn't look too difficult. All of a sudden he hit one into the water. And then when I played it the other day, I'm like, that's why. And that's another thing too, Tracy, right? When you look at this course, and we've heard this from players over the years, it really is. This is not easy for them to be able to come out here. It challenges their game and really kind of kickstarts them as they get really into gear for the PGA season.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, the golf courses, starting off in Hawaii and the West Coast swing, while they can be tough, they truly go up a notch when they get to the Florida swing. These 4 golf courses on the Florida swing are not easy, and they're tough. And that really kind of gets them going into, their prep for the Masters and then all the majors coming from there on out. And the Copperhead truly is probably the most similar of the 4 Florida courses, to Augusta National, right? At least I'm not comparing us to Augusta National, but certainly, the most similar. And it's a tough track. I mean, it is not often that someone in double digits, under wins, right? It's usually a single digit, someone's, only 8 under, 9 under, when they win this tournament. They're not, put it this way, no one's shooting 20 under. No, watch this year that'll happen. But no one in general is shooting, 20 under, on the Copperhead and winning.
Yeah, and as the local pro I said the other day, don't be a hero when that ball goes into the rough. Just take your medicine, get it back in the fairway, and go. And it's funny because you have to go out there and experience it yourself. I'm like, oh man, I think I got a good lie here. I took one shot. I go, time to take my medicine, just put it back in the fairway, right? And it's just like, it's amazing how difficult, but it's so fun. And I love the course, and to be able to walk it and actually play it for once, it was amazing. How important is Rondé Barber to this whole thing, Tracy? Because he's such a face of this whole operation, and one of the most beloved athletes in the history of Tampa Bay sports, and he's smack dab in the middle of everything for you guys.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, he's a gem, right? I mean, he loves this tournament so much. He first and foremost loves the Tampa Bay community, right? I mean, he chose to stay here after retiring. They could have moved, and they chose to stay. He and his family. So he loves this area. And we're really, he can get pulled in a lot of different directions, right? So he made a conscious effort to make sure that the tournament, the Valspar Championship and Copperhead Charities is his give back, right? So everything that he does for the most part in the community revolves around, the tournament. And he loves golf. He's obviously, a single digit, almost a +1 himself. So he loves golf, but he's involved more than just name only. Right. A lot of people think, oh, okay, he's just general chair. He's lending his name to the tournament. Oh, no. I mean, he is involved. I mean, he does anything and everything that we ask, not only just from a media perspective, but really going out and meeting with our sponsors, traveling when we need to, do things for Valspar. I mean, he is all in, and he couldn't love the event anymore in what it does. So he just wants everyone to come out, right? And be a part of this tournament, come out and sponsor, come out and buy hospitality tickets, just grounds tickets, just be here, right? So he would love nothing more than to have, another 120,000 people out here, for the week and watch the Valspar Championship. And he deserves it, right? I mean, he meant a lot to this community. So people should, even if they're not a golf fan, just come out and support Rondé.
I like that. I like that mindset. I tell people that all the time. It's like, you don't have to like golf. I just come out here. Like, my mom's not the biggest sports fan, but she loves it. Like, she booked the trip down here before even asking my dad. And my dad golfs every day. They're both retired now. My mom's like, I already booked the tickets for March. I already saw. I went on ValsparChampionship.com. She's all about it. She's ready to go. But you mentioned Rondé. Yeah, last year we were off air, Zach and I, and Rondé still came over and he was like, hey, let's cut a video so we can spread the word about the Valspar. I was just meeting with sponsors here and there, and I was just like, that's the thing. That's the extra. That's that extra mile that people like Rondé go. That is part of the reason why the Valspar is so great. I loved the discussion the other day with Peter Malnati, and he's such a unique individual, right? Like, he's got the bucket hat. I love the question from our guy, Bob Herrick, a longtime cover of the PGA, and asking about Tiger Woods and going back and forth. And Peter's going to be back. And there's also, 500 bucket hats to people. What day is that?
Yeah, so on Thursday we're going to. So we're all in on Peter Malnati. He may not be. We're all in. So he's obviously our defending champ this year, and he may not be the biggest name, pro in the world, and he used the word journeyman, etc. But he is the nicest guy. So we are all in on Peter. So on Thursday we're going to do after he's done with play, so roughly around 5:30, 6 o'clock, we're going to honor him on the first tee. And play some videos, and we've got some special gifts for him, and Rondé's going to MC it and so forth. But as part of that day, the first 500 fans that come through the gates on Thursday are going to get a free bucket hat. And it's in the color blue. So Valspar's color of the year is called Encore. And it's a blue, actually pretty similar to the background of your screen, real close. Mm-hmm. Did you do that on purpose?
I did.
So the first 500 fans are going to get an Encore blue bucket hat. And then actually it's really going to be neat all week long. All our volunteers, all our copperheads, our ambassadors and so forth are going to be wearing bucket hats all week instead of the standard baseball cap. So it's just our little way of giving Peter a nod and how proud we are that he was our champion this past 12 months.
Yeah. And it's one thing that I try to tell people too, Tracy, is that you never know. These people could, like, the guys that may be under the radar, they could be huge names. Because I remember Jordan Spieth, right? And Jordan Spieth was a bit, but he wasn't the Jordan Spieth that we see now, right? And I remember interviewing one day, like, I really like this kid. He wins the tournament. There's other names too, like Akshay Bhatia. I got a chance to interview him a couple years ago, and I go, this skinny dude, and watching him being able to rip it. And now he's one of the better players in the world, interviewing Nick Grabelsic and Kevin Roy and some of these guys. And it's just been fantastic. So I tell people that too. All right, maybe you may not know certain players, but keep an eye on this guy, because there'll be a power before you know it. And I think when you have a guy like Justin Thomas, that was the big announcement the other day. I mean, he really is one of the faces of golf. Tracy, how exciting is it to be able to have him there? And are we expecting any other names announced over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, we sure are. So the pros have until 5 p.m. the Friday before the tournament to actually commit. So I'm still in discussions, I would say, with another dozen players at least. Some we already know, aren't going to play. Yeah. But there's at least another dozen, pretty nice, prominent names that are considering playing. And I'm not saying I'm going to get all dozen, but I do expect another big handful of announcements. And we already have a great field. So as you mentioned, Justin Thomas, we do have Akshay Bhatia here. We've got Sam Burns here. We've got, Kevin Kisner here. We've got, Molinari here. I mean, Tommy Fleetwood. I mean, the list goes on. And we do put the list on ValsparChampionship.com. But yeah, you can expect some other announcements from me over the next, 2 weeks.
I love it. Will Zalatoris, another big name that people love to follow. And Sam Burns has almost become like the guy that he's like the Valspar guy from everybody I talk to, right? Being a guy that's won and goes out there and he plays against some of these big boppers on the tour. And it's almost like that's one of our, when a player wins the Valspar, it's almost like they're ingrained in the Team Tampa Bay forever, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You feel like they're your child now, right? That they're your brother or your son or whatever, right? That they're part of your family. And we absolutely feel that way. I mean, we're ecstatic every time we have one of our past champions. Gary Woodland, who just won the PGA Tour Courage Award yesterday. He's coming back. Basically, we have every defending champion, past champion that is still eligible to play coming back, with the exception of Jordan. And I'm still waiting. So we're still trying to get that, Jordan over the line. If he ends up playing, we'll have everyone that is eligible to play. So that's a testament to their win, the how we treat them, and their love of the Copperhead course.
How was that process for you, Tracy? And I have this conversation with Lightning general manager. I'm here at Amalie now, and I say, well, what about the trade deadline? And he goes, Jay, puts his hand on my shoulder. He goes, getting this team better is a 365 day a year job. It doesn't just happen around the trade deadline. I feel like it's the same thing with you, where even when the tournament's over, like the week after, it's like, all right, now we're worried about next year. Like, it doesn't stop for you, does it?
No, it doesn't. I mean, you're continually trying to build your relationship with them, right? And trying to make sure that when you not only ask them to play, there's that, they got to look you in the eye, and they're your friend now. And so if they're not going to play, they have to at least consider it. And then when you need them to do things throughout the year for you, or during tournament week with different sponsors and so forth, the better you have a more personal relationship with them, it's helpful. And then, I have the extra beauty of managing another PGA Tour event, on behalf of ProLink Sports, our company. So the 3M Open in Minneapolis, which is in July. So I'm out probably a little more often, than some other PGA Tour tournament directors, because I'm trying to do this twice a year. So,
oh my gosh.
But yeah, they're independent contractors. It's not like a team, right? Where you're building your team, and but it's 365.
Tell us a little bit more about all the events that we have going on. I know Jordan Davis is a huge star. Every year it's a big time star. Just tell us about Jordan Davis and everything else that we got going on. And of course, everybody can go check it out, valsparchampionship.com. But what are some of the big things that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, so Jordan Davis is a huge country act. So every year on Saturday night, we have a big concert. So we're lucky that Innisbrook has 3 different golf courses. So they have 2 different ranges. So we take the second driving range and build a huge concert stage. I mean, this is a full-fledged concert.
Yeah.
We'll have about 12 to 14,000 of our Saturday ticket holders wander on over and watch the concert, which happens right after play. So that concert's included in your Saturday ticket. So Jordan Davis is playing, so we're really excited about that. So that's a lot of fun. But really, it's just the fun food and activities every day. There's a different theme every day to what's happening at the tournament. But I think the biggest thing, Jay, is that how fan-friendly but family-friendly we are. Right. So kids 15 and under are free. Where else do you get to go and bring your kids for free? So kids 15 and under are free with a paid adult. So that's huge. We do a lot of comp tickets and discounted tickets for our military. Right. So if you're active duty or military retired, you get 2 comp tickets every day. And then we feed you in our Patriots Outpost. Or if you're served but didn't retire, there's discounts. And then this year, Thursday, on behalf of Jable, we are doing kind of a nod to our first responders, for everyone that dealt with the hurricanes the last fall and summer. So the first 500 first responders get 2 comp tickets on Thursday. So we try and do a lot of things like that. And then unique things like on Sunday, we work with AmeriLife and Feeding Tampa Bay and ask everyone to bring a non-perishable food item. And you might you'll be entered in to win 2 Delta Airline tickets. Right. We do things like Color Scouts, Valspar Color Scouts. So if you come so we have 20 to 25 volunteers every day with big backpacks full of prizes. We basically give out 2,500 prizes every day. So if you come dressed colorfully to the tournament and one of our scouts see you, you might get, a concession coupon, a pair of sunglasses.
Oh, that's great.
A kid's cape. The list goes on and on. So we do a lot of stuff on our website that really tells you what's happening every day. And it's more than just golf. It's a lot of fun. No,
100%. And that it's so funny because somebody was talking about that on Monday. And I said, man, I really got to me with my crazy shoes. I think I got to do something crazy and wear a wild color or something like that so I can stand out. I'm going to embarrass my parents because they're never with me when I wear these crazy shoes. But, that's what happens. The Valspar makes you want to be more colorful. Right, Tracy?
Yes. It's not often, we're really lucky to have a paint company as our title sponsor, right? So we're able to activate and do a lot of fun things. Not that you can't with a different type of title sponsor in an industry, but I'll take a paint company me any day, right? It's a lot of
You
fun.
got that right. Before I let you go, just tell me about because just listening to some of the representatives, Sherwin-Williams and Valspar, they seem so proud to be able to work with you guys, right? I've been to a lot of those kind of luncheons and breakfasts and things like that, and sometimes it's very cut and paste, very, very dry. There's like a real like appreciation for what you guys do there. What is that relationship like?
Yeah, there's a real bond, right? I mean,
It is.
Valspar is not headquartered here, and then they were purchased by Sherwin-Williams, and they're headquartered in Cleveland. So they're not headquartered here, but they really now view Tampa Bay as almost like their second hometown, right? As a company and a corporation, and they've been really proud of what they've been able to accomplish in this community, and they're all in. I mean, they love this event. They not only bring all their customers, they have started over the years a supplier program where they've got 40 to 45 different supplier partners that now sponsor the tournament and come down. Some of those from throughout the world. I mean, we've got suppliers that have come in from Korea and China to come attend the tournament. So Valspar utilizes this in their business in a bunch of different ways, which is terrific.
Yeah, it is amazing. And again, for more information, ValsparChampionship.com. It's a great website because it's all the information on there. Get on out there. If you've never been to the Valspar, I mean, first off, why not? Don't have FOMO because I know one of the Lightning guys is like, hey, I'm going to be on the road. I'm going to miss it. And he was like crestfallen today. He was so upset. He's like, I can't believe I can't be there. And I was like, well, they'll always be next year, but you don't want to wait until next year. Get there this year, just in a couple of weeks. It'll be here before you know it. ValsparChampionship.com has got all of the information there. Tickets on sale now, March 17th to the 23rd. Copperhead course there at Innisbrook, the one and only, the tournament director, Tracy West. Tracy, thank you so much for your time. It's always fun catching up with you, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. And fingers crossed it'll be a lot drier than it was on Monday.
A lot drier, and you better be dressed colorfully, and I'll come find you on the 8th green.
You're the best. Thanks, Tracy.
Thanks, Jay.
You got it. Take care. Awesome stuff. I love Valspar, and Tracy is another one of those people. People ask me all the time, who is Team Tampa Bay? What is Team Tampa Bay? What type of people contribute to the events that we have in our area? She's one of them. And that's such a huge part of why I want to have her on the show, people like that on the show, because you may not know a Tracy West, right? If you followed our journey when we were over at WDAE, and for years, I know we did the Pro-Am, and dating back to the Big Dog, right? The Big Dog doing the show there, Ron and Ian doing the show there, myself and Ian, and even Zach and myself. It's just a very special event to highlight what's going on in our area. And you heard Tracy there. People are going to be on their first responders for what happened last year dealing with the hurricanes. And I know there's still people out there dealing with it. Hurricane Helene, Hurricane Milton. You guys know how it affected me and how it affected my life. And man, it's so wild that happened, right? I mean, we're in a new calendar year, but the impact of that is still being felt around the Tampa Bay area. There's still people displaced. There's still people dealing with their homes that were just ravaged with those storms. And to have an event like this where those first responders get honored, this is the kind of stuff that you want to support when you live here in this community. If you've never been, if you're a person I'm not a golf person, that's not my thing. Just go one time. Go one time and just go walk around. If you've never been to a golf tournament before, it's one thing. Maybe you golf, but you've never been to a golf tournament. The one thing I love about the Valspar and any golf tournament that you're going to go to, PGA style, is there's a lot of freedom. You get the ticket, you walk inside, you're like, where do you go? You can go wherever the hell you want. You can go hole to hole and follow your favorite player. Let's say Justin Thomas tees off at 7:15 in the morning, and you want to get there and follow him from hole 1 to hole 18, you can do it. Now, you're probably going to be in a huge group and may not be right next to him, but you have the ability to do that. Let's say you pick a name. Let's say you know a certain guy that went to a similar high school or college, and you just want to follow him. Kevin Roy is a great example. Our buddy that we had on last year. Back on the PGA Tour, married to our good friend Annie Sabo. Maybe you want to follow him and his Tampa peeps around for a couple holes. You can do that. Maybe you want to just sit in the same spot all freaking day from morning to afternoon to the final pairing goes by. You can do that. That's what we do. We used to walk around. We used to kind of, all right, we're going to follow these guys here. We followed around Tommy Fleetwood one year, Justin Rose. We're kind of checking out what Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth were up to. We did all that. And then we kind of settled in on, wow, the 8th green is awesome. It's a par 3. You can see the guys coming right to you. And we just set up our chairs right there. You see the tee shots coming in. You see some incredible putts. We're going to do that again this year. My mom and dad are already locked in. They are so excited to come to the Valspar here in a couple of weeks. And I will not be live. That I don't know if we'll go Thursday and Sunday or Friday and Sunday, but I will not be on air those days because I will be out there with my parents enjoying some golf here in the Tampa Bay area. Get out there early. Get out there early and spend. It's just so beautiful when you can just sit there and watch them golf. There's food and drink everywhere. There's portable charging stations to charge your phone. It's an incredible experience. One thing I will tell you, if you're going to bring a chair, like you're going to bring one of those lawn chairs, they don't allow you to bring the bags in there because if you bring the bags in there, they can fly onto the course. So leave the bag in the car and just bring the chair with you. We learned that the hard way. We got to go all the way back and to be able to put our bags in there. They don't let you do that. So that's something that I'm going to continue to let people know before the tournament is underway in a couple of weeks. I'm actually looking to invest into some nice lawn chairs. So you want to be able to rock back. And it's so nice out there. That's the time of year you want to live in the Tampa Bay area because it's not too hot. It's not too cold. It's that type of weather where in the morning you might have like a light jacket on. And then by the end of the day, you're just chilling. And you look all around the country and people are dealing with miserable weather. People may still be dealing with snow at that time, but not us here in the Tampa Bay area. So get on out, ValsparChampionship.com. A lot of great stuff there. Cannot wait to be out there once again. And if you guys want to come say hello, we'll be by the 8th green. Rays in action now against the Tigers down there in Port Charlotte. Excited for baseball season coming up and starting to see some of the picture day photos from yesterday. Junior Cabanero and son Kim and Shane McClanahan and Yandy Diaz. And also, there's still names out there. Anthony Rizzo is another guy I saw yesterday. Is he going to get picked up by a team? I wonder. And, of course, ton of football, NFL Combine, so many people talking. There's a lot of stories going on right now across the NFL. A guy like Abdul Carter, doctors have advised him not to have foot surgery. And we're going to reach out. We're actually going to have Daniel Gallen on. He works for 24/7 Sports up there at State College, and we'll see what he has to say. He's going to join us on the program tomorrow. So we got a lot of lines in the water of what we're doing and what we're talking about here as we are live here at Amalie Arena ahead of the Lightning game tonight against the Calgary Flames. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at JRecher, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Back home tomorrow for the final show of the week. And then the Lightning go on a little bit of a road trip there. So plenty of good stuff to talk about. Again, Eddie Encina is going to join us on the program at 1:30 today to discuss the red-hot Tampa Bay Lightning. 6 wins in a row. They go for 7 tonight. Let's see. David Velasquez says we need to see Rondé on the coaching staff. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he likes his gig. David Terry, let's see the shoes, Jay. All right, we'll do that for you guys. Usually I make you wait till the video at night, but we're rocking with these bad boys. The green suede jump-offs today. And I don't even know if they're as flagrant as some of the other colors that I wear. People do like the Italian horns there, even though I'm not Italian. But it's kind of funny how I wear certain shoes when I walk into this building, and people are like, that's not crazy enough. Well, green suede shoes with gold horns on them aren't crazy enough for you. I got to wear pink or yellow or something with freaking LED lights on them. I guess, your reputation precedes yourself. And, does B have some breaking news? Rays just broke ground. Stu's out there with a shovel right now. I don't think that is true. Yeah, and the date, we're about a month away. A month away of the March 31st 31st deadline for the Tampa Bay Rays. Are they going to be able to show the county commission and the St. Pete City Council that they've got the fundage? They are going to be ready to break ground and have this baseball team play in a brand new stadium in downtown St. Pete in 2029. If I was a betting man, I would say, oh, hell no. I hope baseball stays in the Tampa area, but after hearing the comments and reading some of the stuff coming out of that situation, it does not look good. What does look good is our Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we're going to have a Buccaneers chat with our good buddy JC Allen from Sports Illustrated. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Good. How you doing, man? I saw the shoes. I listened to the last segment and colorful clothes, stuff like that. I'm like, oh, God, I wonder what Jay's wearing today, because I know you always come correct with it. How you doing, my man?
I'm good, my friend. I'm good. Yeah, I mean, it's funny now. I just having this conversation the other day with somebody. I wore some brown shoes last year, and they were the most expensive shoes that I have. And everybody was like, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Do you have a head cold? Why are you wearing brown shoes? And I was like, these are the most expensive shoes I have, and nobody even likes them. I think I've only worn them one time. So it doesn't matter where you find me. And even the other day, I was wearing pink sneakers, and Darren Radish from the Lightning are like, bro, do you have any normal shoes? I'm like, yeah, maybe once in a while. Rondé Barber's actually giving me grief the other day too. So it's the nature of the beast, man. Yeah, but it's good to have you on the show, man, to talk some Buccaneer football. Let's get right into one of the big things that you brought up and broke the other day about Lavonte David and the Buccaneers. Just give us an update on, what you put out there, and also anything else that you've been hearing regarding number 54 possibly being back with Tampa Bay next season.
Yeah, so the Bucs want him back. I mean, I think that's no secret after what he did last year at age 35. He's still got it. He might have dropped off a little bit in coverage a little bit, but they found other ways to utilize him, maximize his skill set, and you saw that as a pass rusher, coming up with unique ways to get him involved in the blitz. I think he was tied with third on the team in sacks with Logan Hall with like 5.5 or something like that, close to those numbers. But this is still comes down to his decision. If he wants to come back, the Bucs are going to bring him back. I don't think Lavonte's looking for a record-setting contract or anything like that. He's stated the last 2 years that he's year to year, and those conversations, as I reported on Tuesday, we're going to start to take place starting this week with his agent and his camp there in Indy for the combine, obviously, and. Josina Anderson reported that meeting happened yesterday, which is along the lines of what I was hearing. It's pretty much Lavonte, take as much time as you need. Obviously, the sooner the better. Free agency is in about 12 days. The draft and preparation for that is underway. But I don't see a situation where Lavonte doesn't come back to the Bucs. He had a lot of juice left. He was specifically down on himself and downhearted after the loss to the Washington Commanders in the playoffs, because as I feel, and as I'm sure the Bucs feel, that's probably a game they should have won.
Right. So that's what you think, JC, as far as why he was so, because I've seen him the last couple of years after the season, and he was super emotional. I mean, KJ Britt walked by me, and you and I are both down in the locker room after the game, and KJ Britt walks by, he's got tears in his eyes. Lavonte David, he walks by, he's looking really emotional. And I just said, he looks a lot more emotional than years past. So you think it's more of, hey, that was a game they should have won, and they don't have as many opportunities as that, rather than, hey, that could have been it?
No, I feel like, and I'm glad you mentioned KJ Britt, because KJ Britt likely not returning, and that's someone that Lavonte has really taken under his wing since he got here, especially the last year and a half with the whole Devin White situation. And that's what Lavonte does. He becomes that big brother type of role. He was that to Devin White and really kind of stepped into that role with KJ Britt. So knowing Britt's probably gone, I'm sure that contributed to, the team's going to look a lot different. Golston's probably going to retire, someone that he's been with for a long time. And there's some uncertainties around some other guys on the team. I'm sure, those feelings, and wow, if this was my last game, what a tough way to go out in a game we probably should have won. All those things I think contributed to it. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to what he wants to do. And I think that's to continue playing his career. He said, he wants to go out on his own terms, but this Bucs team is right there. I feel like, and listening to Todd Bowles and Jason Light the other day, their kind of plan for this offseason. Again, they didn't really give you anything, but you could kind of subtle notes. That they're going to be aggressive in building this roster, especially on the defensive side of the ball, with the offensive side of the ball mostly set. And I think Lavonte is going to want to be a part of that for another year because he can still go, he can still play. But ultimately, again, it comes down to his decision. I don't think the contract's going to be crazy, somewhere around $6 to $7 million a year for the year. And then again, he's on a year-to-year basis. So it comes down to him. He's going to take his time and think about it. I think we'll probably have an answer sooner rather than later, but no clarity on the timetable when he's going to make that answer. And the Bucks are willing to wait.
It's Bucks or nobody, right? Though
It's Bucks or nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, other teams have reached out. It's not happening. He's going to be a one. I mean, I am that man. He is that man for a reason. And it's Bucks or nobody.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. And that's great. I wish we see that with a lot. I wish we saw that with a lot more athletes, but it looks like, Lavonte David, Mike Evans, two of those guys. I'll get back to that kind of leading into that one. We'll get back to the defense in a second. I want to ask you about Chris Godwin. What's your take on the dead money, the contract, the injury, your perception on what it's going to take for him to come back? The comments made by Jason Light and Todd Bowles up there in Indy. Like, what's your whole take on the Chris Godwin situation? How much it'll cost for him to return here, and if you think that is going to come to fruition?
Yeah, so I think it's very telling because this isn't the first song and dance with Chris Godwin, right? I mean, he's been tagged twice before they got a deal with him, and I go back to kind of and people change, things change, but go back to his wife, Mariah, who was very vocal 2 years ago. She did a Q&A and with some fans and she talked about how they love Tampa. Obviously they just had a baby. Their foundation is here. They're very rooted in this community and do a lot for this community, a lot of things that people don't know that they do. But she also talked about how they don't, they love Tampa because it's still close to their family who's in that, Maryland area, Delaware area. So it's easy for them to get down here, short flight, and that they'll never move back to the snow. She said she's over the snow. So right off the bat, I start whittling down teams and where he could potentially go, especially if that's still the way they feel. With a newborn, I highly doubt they want to pick up and move and have to move their entire life to another city. So I think that plays a huge part into it. And you start kind of looking at maybe Jacksonville's been thrown out there, maybe Dallas. They're not going to go West Coast. It's too far. New Orleans, Atlanta, Miami. That's kind of the general area you could get a feel for them to stay out of the snow, stay close to their family, etc. And it all just comes back to Tampa. Chris Godwin has been not just a pillar in the community, but a pillar on the team. This is not his first rodeo coming back from a season-ending injury. I think he, obviously he had the torn ACL, but then in 2019 he had an injury that ended his season prematurely. That's when you had Rashad Perriman going off and getting that big contract from the Jets.
Right.
So he's had to work his way back, and Jason Light said that there's nobody I trust in this world, especially on this team, to work their way back from an injury. Now what that looks like is going to be a lot different than what it looked like if he was healthy. He was leading the league in yards, receptions, first downs, and other average depth of target. He was absolutely killing it before his injury and was lining himself up for about a $30 million payday. That doesn't probably come his way now that he's got to come back from an injury. He's still in the building meeting with the training staff and getting, work done. I think you're probably looking at more of somewhere between $18 to $21 million a year. I'm sure the contract negotiations are happening. That's why they did move that void date to give them some more time right before up until free agency. It would be shocking to me to see him test free agency, but it could be one of those things like, hey, let's kind of see where our numbers at, bring it back. They're having those side conversations. The agents are all this week anyways. Right. But I think you're probably landing him around there. He probably came in at around like 25 to 26. They're probably coming in around like 17, 16, somewhere with the injury and the age. I think they'll meet somewhere right in the middle between that 18 and $21 million a year mark. And he'll be a buck for at least the next 2 years. I think it's a 2-year deal. And then they reassess the situation from there. I think Mike probably re-up for one more year after this. And then you have Chris and Mike kind of on expiring contracts. And you figure out what you can do. Do you have Jalen McMillan? He's the guy. Maybe you draft a guy like Pat McMillan if he falls to 19 and you have the law firm like you mentioned yesterday. So, it's a wait and see same thing with Lavonte, but at least you know that there is conversation, dialogue going, and they both want to be here. It's just a matter of making the dollars and cents work out of the bottom line.
Where you at with pick 19, brother? I mean, embarrassment of riches if Goblin comes back and they take Ted McMillan and you're looking around and Jalen's your fourth, right? But
I would love
I would love it too, but we're not playing Madden, right? And I think defensively, if this Buccaneers team wants to, instead of just being a division contender, being a team that is going to be really taken serious, they need to shore up the defensive side of the ball. So, listen, if they take it, then you got to trust Jason Light. He's earned that benefit of the doubt. But where do you think they go at 19 if they had their choice? If they had their choice, would it be a Ted McMillan? Would it be, a Green? Would it be another guy? Like, where do you think if they had their optimal pick, who would the Buccaneers choose at 19?
So 19 is such a tricky spot this year.
I
feel like there's probably like 10 true first rounders, 15 fringe first rounders, and you're on the outside of that. I think Ted McMillan or Malachi Starks falling would be probably optimal situation there, as I think by the time that the Bucs are on the board, you're probably looking at Mike Green's off the board, obviously Carter's off the board, James Pierce Jr. is probably off the board there, and then you're looking at Michael Williams. Could he be there? And then you're kind of looking at that second wave of kind of edge defenders. And again, nobody is a sure thing besides Abdul Carter. All these guys have holes and deficiencies they need to work on. Shamar Stewart being another one. So if you're at 19 and, you're all those guys are gone, I think you're really probably looking to find a partner to dance with to move back a little bit. Maybe recoup that 6th round pick, maybe pick up a 4th or 3rd or 5th and be able to address maybe. Now you can look at it and say, all right, now we can go out and we can maybe take XYZ in the 2nd or 3rd round because we have another pick there to address the defensive side of the ball. And I think when you're looking at the draft, probably from pick 20, and I'd probably even go 15 all the way to probably like 70 something there. They're all similar talented players, Again, first round grades, first round talent, first round picks are 3 different things. And I just don't think there's that many. I don't think there's going to be any at 19 left on the board. A name that's popular, that's starting to pick up some steam. Donovan Ezaraku from BC is a guy who, as a pass rusher, if they're looking for one of those, they can probably 19. I don't think would be too rich. Obviously, a lot of people have talked about Jihad Campbell, kind of that tweener, plays linebacker, can play edge for them as well. And then obviously the cornerbacks are going to be a big conversation too. With Siobhan Ravel from ECU, he said he met with the Buccaneers, had a formal interview with them at the combine. Obviously Benjamin Morrison is another guy. He also had a formal interview with the Bucs. And funny story enough, his father played with Todd Bowles with back when they were the Washington Redskins, his rookie season Bowles last season. So there's some familiarity with him. Benjamin Morrison didn't even know that until he had his formal and Todd Bowles brought it up. So, but you look in the 2nd round and there's some good cornerbacks there. So if they wanted to wait there, a sneaky name to watch. And I know they have a guy they really like in Cade Otton, but Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State, has had a formal interview with the Buccaneers, said it went really well. If they feel like, hey, at this point, we've addressed some of our needs in free agency, so we're not handicapped to go, and we can go kind of BPA. If Tyler Warren's sitting there at 19 and they feel like Cade Otton in the last year of his deal, he can be a great partnership and then maybe replace him or just upgrade over a guy like Payne Durham, Devin Culper, or Cole Keefe, that could be a wild card that they could get there at 19. But it's going to depend really, honestly, what they do in free agency, what becomes glaring there. But there's some names there that can make an impact. I don't know if any game-changing guys, unless one of them slips. But they're gonna have a good group of guys to select from there, or the opportunity to potentially move back.
JC, do you think that they do make a big move, whether it's free agency or via the trade, to shore up one of those positions so that you do get closer to best player available, in the drafts? Because I think that's a huge part of, any team really, right? In the next couple of weeks before the NFL draft, like where do you get, this team will eliminate this position because they traded for this guy or they signed this guy. What angle do you think that they'll take in the trade market or the free agency market to try to fill in some of those holes first prior to the draft?
Obviously, going into the draft, you'd love to just be like, hey, we're good, BPA, right? Mm-hmm. Best player available, doesn't matter position. And you can still do that. I think if you're the Bucs, I don't know any big signing. I'm not projecting any, big trade for Hendrickson or Garrett or Crosby or Parsons. So rule that out. I don't really think there's many cornerback options that are going to be available. I know Jair Alexander was just thrown out there, but I don't think he's a fit anyways. Not the type of body that they look for at corner. I think this is going to be one of those. You may see some, maybe like a 3-year, $30 million deal or something like that. And you can call that, kind of a big move. But I think that's what you're looking at more so. Whether or not Lavonte comes, they need depth at linebacker. We saw that last year. They need depth at cornerback. We saw that last year. They need depth at safety. Even if they move Tyke Smith to safety after releasing Jordan Whitehead, they still need more depth there. They are high on Kayvon Merriweather. So I think this is going to be one of those drafts where Jason kind of takes a playbook out of what Bill Belichick used to do when he worked with Bill. And that's not sign the high price free agents, but instead of getting that $10 million cornerback or, $15, $20 million cornerback with inflation nowadays, you take that, maybe you get the $10 million cornerback and a $5 million backup, high-end backup. I think the goal of this offseason for Jason is to improve the floor of each room. And what we saw last year was Jamel Dean goes down, and instead of having a B player or a C+ player, something like that, you're starting to get D players, F players coming in with Tyreek Funderburk and Josh Hayes and JJ Russell and Antonio Greer Jr., who half the people listening don't know who that is. So it's like Vi Jones. Instead of having that, I think they're going to invest in, and obviously depends on what they do. Jamel Dean's the biggest cap casualty potentially left on the team if they're going to need a number one cornerback. So that's where I think they could spend some money. But I think it's going to be one of these things where, okay, we've got 4 pass rushers on the team right now, and that's Diaby, Braswell, Ramirez, and Watts. Let's add 2 in free agency, 1 in the draft. Let's figure out who our best depth is. What are our best depth? And I think that's going to be the big role, the big route for this Buccaneers team, especially after listening to Jason, is we're going to flood these positions with talent. That's if we have an injury situation like last year, we know that we're in a good spot with someone else going. And I think that's what to expect more than a giant, massive blockbuster move.
Yeah, I like that. Fortifying the depth, making sure that, especially throwing numbers at certain position, like the pass rush, right? Like the interior defensive line, where it's, you're not worried about rotations for your offensive line, right? It's going to be your 5 guys right there. How do you think they address that guard spot? Do you think they bring Bredesen back? Do you think they maybe invest a pick there? Do they give Elijah Klein a look? Because 4/5 of the line, you kind of know what it's going to look like going into 2025, but that one spot is kind of the only question mark.
Yeah, they'd like to have Ben Bredesen back, but there's a cap on what they'll spend for it. Right, so if he's within their range, under $5 million a year, I think they'll bring him back, and I think they'll be happy about that. I know the offensive line room will be happy about that. As far as Elijah Klein, you don't just give it to Elijah Klein. You got to either draft someone fairly high, I'm talking 3rd, 4th round, to compete with him, or you're bringing in a veteran and saying, all right, it might not be like a big name veteran, like what they did last year with Bredesen and Opeta, right?
Yeah.
So you bring in someone like that and say, all right, let's let the best man win. I know they really do like Elijah Klein's development behind the scenes this past season. So, it's one of these things where Tate Ratledge is a guy that I really like, guard out of Georgia in the 3rd round. Didn't have a great season this year, kind of injury plagued a little bit here and there, but I think he'd be a great fit. There's some other guys in that 3rd, 4th round area that I think would be good fits if they did want, but that's more, I think, if they do a trade back situation to pick up more caps, more draft capital, then you're probably looking maybe an offensive guard early, but you never know. Jason loves watching offensive linemen. So if he falls in love with the one, you could look at, I mean, if Armand Mambu's there, the guard who's projected to go in the 1st round, and that shores it up. And now you have your offensive lineman, young, all 1st, 2nd, round pedigree, it could be something that tantalizes him, especially if he's there. But, I think Bredesen is option A. It depends on the money. Option B is let's get a veteran, in here. You got to get a veteran in here anyways. You're not just going to trust a 3rd, 4th round rookie in Elijah Klein. Let's get another low-cost veteran in here with some upside, and then let's put some draft capital in the position.
Yeah, Jason, he's got to be itching right now to draft a 3rd round offensive lineman from a D3 school. He's itching, man. If he doesn't do that every other year, he kind of breaks out in hives.
he made sure to mention that. He did a spot on PFT, and they called him the O-line guru. And he's like, I just love watching offensive line film. Quarterback is boring to me. There'll be 5 plays where they didn't do anything, but offensive line, you're getting dirty every second. So
I love that.
he's definitely got his eye towards some of these. And there's some of these guys on here that just scream Jason Light. I mean, he took Cody Mauch 2 years ago with no teeth. So there's some guys that kind of look like like they fit Jason's bill.
Cody Mauch, Co Keefe, Ryan Jensen type for sure. Before I let you go, JC, of course, we got to talk about the biggest news, and it has nothing to do with football. Elimination Chamber this weekend. What do you think happens with Rock and Cody Rhodes? Who do you think is going to win the men's and the women's Elimination Chamber match?
Shang Tsung over here. Your soul is mine.
Soul is mine. Yes.
It's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be some sort of dynamic where Cody says no, and then maybe we get, there's so many things in play right now. There's CM Punk's favor with Paul Heyman. He's in the eliminated. His obsession to headline a WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre and his obsession for the chase for the title to retain it more at WrestleMania, more than just 5 minutes after gloating. There's like so many different storylines within this. I think Cody says no, but I think it's going to involve and encompass someone else there.
Yeah,
and it's going to blow up in a huge way. As far as the women, I just think Liv Morgan, I know she just won the strap the other day for the tag team titles. Her and Rhea, she deserved it. She worked her butt off all year long. And Bailey, Roxanne are headed towards a promo themselves. I wonder if Jade comes back and maybe that starts off something with Bianca and Naomi. And then that maybe becomes like a triple threat situation there. And then obviously with Alexa, she's just back brand new. It would be difficult to put her in that spot right away, I think, with other guys paying talent paying their dues in the last 2 years and her just coming back from, getting married and having a baby. But she's a wild card. But for me, it's just, and I know people are Bliss and Ray it out, but I think it's still such a big storyline. It can be such a big moment for them at Mania. It's going to be an interesting show for sure. I can't wait for it. And then obviously we got the unsanctioned match between Sammy and KO, which is going to be a lot of fun too. So it should be a good card. A lot of trickle down. I think I know a lot of people have been talking like this WrestleMania is around the corner. Like, doesn't feel like it. I think this is where we get that shot of life into us. And we're like, okay, WrestleMania is around the corner. And whether that's John Cena maybe becoming heel and taking up the Rock's offer to get that last moment. He did say it's time to be selfish after the Royal Rumble, after he was eliminated. So is that something? He said he'll never go heel, but maybe, never say never, and we get a heel John Cena. Or maybe Cody says yes, and we finally get a lightning time. We finally get what we've all been wanting is the Homelander Cody. So, whatever happens, it's sure to progress storylines towards WrestleMania. It's sure to be a great show.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because that Sammy KO match is going to be nuts. It's going to be crazy. I'm with you. I think Cena turns heel in a way, shakes the Rock hand. I think because you got to start like positioning these pieces to WrestleMania, right? It's going to be Rollins. It's going to be Rollins and Roman Reigns. That's what it's going to be. Doesn't need a belt. That's the grudge match, the ultimate grudge match. Rollins has never, Reigns has never beat Rollins. He beat everybody the last couple of years. They had that match against Royal Rumble. It was a disqualification. That'll be the match where Roman comes back. It's the one-on-one. It doesn't need to be a main event. It doesn't need to be a title. That's a standalone match. Fine. Get those guys to the side. Fine. But CM Punk, all of this time has been talking about, I want a main event WrestleMania. I want a main event WrestleMania. I want a main event WrestleMania. I find it hard to believe that Jey Uso and Gunther are not going to main event night one, and everybody's going to go home yeeting, right? Like that just seems like WrestleMania is that. Yeah, WrestleMania is that show, right? Where it's very rare that you see a heel go over at WrestleMania, right? You saw it the one year when Roman beat Daniel Bryan and Edge, right? Stack them up. But let's not forget the other day was, Bianca Belair and Tasha Banks and, this guy running down, all the way down, my guy from the Street Profits, coming all the way down, hugging her. Like
that's great.
That's amazing, right? I truly believe it's going to be some semblance of Punk in the main event. But how do you get him in the main event and not boo Cody if he's the babyface? Well, you turn it into it's a best on best on best. And is Punk going to be pissed if he's in the main event in a three-way? Probably, unless he's in there with Cody Rhodes, one of his good friends who is the champ, and John Cena's final match. If you tell Punk, hey, you're finally going to main event, but it's a 3-way, but it's Cody and Cena, I think he signs up for that in a heartbeat. Now, where does that leave Drew McIntyre? People say Damian Priest, but I think he's too big of a name right now. I feel like Priest is that a match that you want to see? I don't know.
We saw it last year.
He did, I know. And they for what? Yeah, for a couple minutes. And then you mentioned Alexa Bliss. I feel like they teased the whole Judgment Day versus Wyatt Six, which, with this guy, Uncle Howdy, being injured, that's kind of put a little damper on that. I think Cargo comes back at Elimination Chamber, and I think something happens where she enters into the match and wins. Because, yes, something like that. We've seen it in the past before. Don't always think that those 6 or 7 people.
One of them is not going to make it. And I think Naomi's probably the one that's not going to make it. I could see Cargill taking out Naomi, finding out it was Naomi the whole time.
Right.
And Bianca, how did you not know? And now Naomi and Bianca get it. I don't know if she wins, but I think that would be a great way to set up Jade and Bianca, which is something we've been talking about for a couple of years now, happening at WrestleMania, and that gives them their one-on-one. If you take out Naomi, I mean, obviously it sucks for Naomi. Maybe she comes back and that, Bianca, how dare you didn't have my back, and whatever, Jade, and now it becomes that triple threat match I alluded to. But it's certainly going to be interesting. I think it's too early for Jade to win. To go up against Rhea. If Rhea wasn't such a name, I would. That's going to be a banger of a match. Like that's to me be the best. It might not be the biggest catalyst, and it might not be like the biggest name because John Cena and CM Punk and like all these guys. But that's going to be the best match of the night. I'll tell you that.
So they're wrestling Saturday.
Yeah.
Io and Rhea, right?
Yeah.
So who does Rhea fight at WrestleMania? That's my thing.
That's the question.
Do you do a fatal 4-way with her? And is there some kind of chicanery on Saturday where Io gets and deserves another shot, and then you do a 4-way and you put that match together? Because that's you need somebody for Rhea, right?
Well, they're talking about doing a multi-man match for Braun too. So on the Intercontinental. So it's tough to balance. Now they have all these extra belts for the women and everything like that. So if it's going to be truly the night of champions, as WrestleMania should be, where almost and should be every belt is defended, it starts getting tricky how you build these matchup cards. And I think, again, Elimination Chamber, hopefully, I say that Triple H is very creative, but hopefully starts to give us some answers on how things are going to shake out. But I'm excited for it. It should be a heck of a show, man.
You got that right. Follow him on Twitter /X, JC Allen NFL, Bucks reporter, writer for Bucks Game Day, VP of PFWA Writers, Tampa chapter, Sick Pod. Go check that out as well. He does a little bit of everything covering our Buccaneers and, of course, talking some WWE with me. JC, appreciate your time, my friend. Enjoy the rest of your week and enjoy the PLE. It'll always be a pay-per-view to me.
Pay-per-view.
It's pay-per-view to me, damn it.
And at least I don't have to pay to view it now, so.
Yeah, we do what we got to do. Thanks, pal. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeet. All right, man. Yeet. We're yeeting all over the place, man. We're yeeting all day. Man, I can't wait. And then, think about other guys too, like Logan Paul and AJ Styles and Finn Balor. Like, it's just it's pretty wild to think that there's an embarrassment of riches right now in the WWE on the men's side, on the women's side, and there really is no better time than now to be a fan of the WWE. And I implore you to go check out all the things that they have going on A&E. If you didn't see the new show, LFG, with the legends and the future greats, with Mickey James and Booker T and Bubba Ray Dudley and The Undertaker, working with Shawn Michaels and some of these guys that they have, they're legit. They are insane athletes. Elijah Holyfield, remember him from his college football days, Evander's son. The one young lady on there, Zena, she's from the Ukraine. She's 20 years old. And she ran a marathon without training. She was on the Stairmaster for 24 straight hours. What an incredible athlete. And her gimmick is like this ditzy blonde. And I'm hooked already. I want to watch the show every freaking week. I want to almost forget about it for a couple of weeks so I can watch a bunch of episodes in a row. It is that good. The partnership with the WWE and the A&E and A&E with the greatest moments and the rivals and that show LFG, they hit it out of the park every single time. There is no comparison when it comes to WWE and AEW and all these other companies, because the WWE, the way that they're able to disseminate all of the products and all the different information and all of these shows, you're never, ever going to match what they do. And I am not an AEW hater. I think it is not the same product as it was when they first started. There is a lot of good in-ring talent there. There's a lot of names that you're going to know. You know, when you turn on the TV screen, you see the Chris Jerichos of the world, and you see the John Moxley and the Adam Copeland that we know from the WWE as Edge. I mean, there's really good talent there, but it's just not the same with how the product is presented. And that's why the WWE is up here and nobody's ever going to catch it. And there was some news in the last couple of weeks about Vince McMahon talking to Fox about possibly a new entity in wrestling. It wouldn't be a distribution thing, because why would you do that after the Fox declined re-upping with SmackDown? But who knows? Maybe they own their own wrestling products. Would it be something that's on Fox? Maybe it's something that you only see on Fox Sports 1. But we do know that Vince McMahon, who's not out in public a bunch, was at the Super Bowl there with the Fox people. So we'll see. Something to certainly keep an eye on. You know, Vince does not like to be sitting on the sidelines. He wants to be part of this wrestling stuff. And JC A&E is crushing the LFG legit. I'm the same way. Give me more. You are the man, JC. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's keep the conversations going, and we'll do it with our good pal, Eduardo.
Jay, what's up?
What's up, bud? How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, man. Long time no see, bud.
Saw you this morning, didn't I?
I know. What are you drinking over there, bud?
Trying to get some Spindrift collab, maybe.
Attaboy.
Really good.
Sparkling water.
Shannon drinks these all the time. The mango black tea is my favorite. So
what mango black tea? I like it. It. We'll start with the wrestling stuff. We'll go to hockey after. What do you think? Elimination Chamber this week. I know you heard JC and I talking about it. How do you think it's going to shake out?
So you got to think these things backwards, right?
Right.
Yeah. So hearing you guys talk about the women, I think that one's a little bit more, a little bit easier, right?
Right.
With EO. But I don't know. I mean, like, so we're talking, so we have Reigns, we have Punk, we have Cena,
right.
Drew, right? Drew,
yeah,
and Seth, and man, that's
Paul.
Logan Paul, that's packed, dude.
It is.
I don't know. I'm just mad because I can't. I'm actually going to be on a flight back from DC in the middle of it, so I'm going to have to try to figure out a way. Sometimes the reception isn't great on the plane.
Right.
So I don't know. I feel like I don't think it's Reigns. I don't think it's Cena. So, and I don't know if it's Punk either. I don't know. This one's got me really, really twisted.
It's got you jacked up, bud.
Yeah, I mean, you got all the guys there you want, right? So, I don't know. The thing about Chamber too is like they're just going to beat the crap out of each other too.
Oh my God, it's such a physical outcome.
And then a bunch of dudes who just hate each other. So I think that's I'm just looking forward to really good like beating the shit out of each other, you know?
Yeah.
But
you're not allowed to say shit on the podcast, buddy.
I can't.
No, you can't.
Definitely
That's why you definitely can, buddy. Screw you, FCC. Kiss my entire ass.
Here's the thing: I can't get anything in the newspaper, man. Like I can't get. If I tell you some of the stories about getting certain words in the paper, because our I'm going rogue here a little bit, but our policy is about like whether there's a value in the word and context, right?
Right.
And you can make an argument, for any word. In some ways that involves context that it's valuable. So I've lost most of those fights in terms of like that it means more because the guy said
right
shit or fuck or whatever.
Yeah.
Man, don't give me this free reign, Jay, because you might be open up a box here. But
can of worms, buddy. We're opening up the can of worms here. Let me ask you this, because I've always wondered this. Is it the Tampa Bay Lightning is or the Tampa Bay Lightning are?
This is a great question. So I'm going to give you a little inside the newsroom here. So
please do, because a lot of people are like, this doesn't sound like English. I'm like,
yeah. So there's a, if you look at, so you look at other teams like the Heat, the Jazz,
where's my headset?
Right? And there
hold on,
is,
buddy, hold on.
Yeah.
I just took my headset out of my ears, adjusting here. I've been sitting in the same spot. Got to put my headset back on. I'm so excited about this conversation. We can just yank these right out of my ears. All right, I'm back. Holy smokes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So we do have our own separate style book, right? Which is different than the AP style book. Now, obviously the first things like Lightning, Heat, Jazz, whatever, teams like that, it technically should be is, right? But our style is to do it as R. But obviously when you reference to it as a individual, like like Tampa Bay, we reference the Lightning as Tampa Bay, we do is. But it's funny because sometimes we have these just kind of on teams, we have like these kind of get-togethers where we do like copy editing drills and stuff like that. And a lot of people who aren't necessarily sports people, they were like, well, why is it R?
Right.
Why is Lightning R? And so there was a big discussion that really went all the way to the top, where you really very recently we had to decide again, like, is it is or is it R? So it's always been R. I think at one point we actually stylistically had it as is.
I thought it was the other way around. I thought it was.
It is R, Lightning R. When we reference them to the Tampa Bay Lightning R. Now, if we just reference to Tampa Bay, it's Tampa Bay is. So because you're talking about just one thing versus,
right.
But I mean, obviously it's the team, or if I say the team, then it's is. But when I reference Lightning as in any references, the Lightning are. So, but again, the conversation, there's no real like right or wrong. It's just what side you decide to take on it, because we see it all different times. Like, like I said, with different teams like the Heat, or what would be the Heat, the Jazz,
the teams that aren't
the teams that are plural,
don't have the S
names,
at the end.
right? So, but it's a constant conversation, one that comes up even when you don't think it's going to come up, and it's just about which side you're going to take. And in 10 years we might be saying Lightning is, and it constantly kind of changes. But there's all these discussions that we always have about stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, what the main thing is, if you're going to take us one side or the other, is just want to be consistent. So that's kind of where it is now. Lightning,
just something that Rick Stroud and Mark Topkin don't have to deal with.
No, they do not.
What do you make of this team, buddy? 6 wins in a row. John Cooper doesn't seem to think that much has changed. They are finding the back of the net, but is it just the consistency, just the even keel, not getting too high, not getting too low, and kind of things progressing to the mean now?
Yeah, I mean, Coop, I mean, he's so good at kind of like keeping everything calm with this team. And obviously, they had dealt with some tough stretches through January, and that was obviously a beast of a schedule, like we all talked about. But I think he's made them believe that, when things weren't going right, and that they were still playing the right way for the most part, and that they were going to get that, the benefit of results eventually. And no doubt, kind of, I thought those, you talked about those 4 games before the break were huge. Like they dropped those games against Ottawa. They even dropping one of those games against Ottawa. It's a little bit different situation, or it could be a different situation, but grabbing all those games and kind of, I think they tell you that, they were a little bit gassed. That was just like you just had to grind it out. And I think those games kind of set the bar for listen, there's times you just got to get the points and figure it out. And I think they were able to do that. And they've kind of pushed that momentum forward into these past 2 games. And obviously the last game, I think, which is one of their best defensive games, of the year. And, when you look at how they were able to shut down, for the most part, McDavid and Draisaitl, and really kind of expose some of the weaknesses of the Oilers too. And just the timeliness of their goals. I think that, they earlier in the year, they were those, when they allow the first goal of the game, they'd allow the second goal of the game. A day like the other night, they allow the first goal of the game, and then they come back with a goal from a guy who probably doesn't score very much, and Mikey Isamont, 2 minutes later, and then they get the next one on the power play. And I think it's that kind of timeliness. And on the other side as well, we know how good Vasilevsky is, and he's been so good during the stretch. But not only is he making saves, but he's making the timely saves when they need him the most. And I think he's done that all year. Look at the goals that he's allowed. They haven't been in like really bad spots. It's just been like, times when it's, they haven't been those momentum killer goals sometimes. But I just think things are going right that way. And when you build confidence and you figure out, how to do those things, it just sends you into a different level confidence wise. Like Eric and I were talking about this today is the way they're playing right now. Like, I think for the first time in a couple years, I really think that they're a team that you really think that they can do some stuff if they can keep this up,
right,
deep into the playoffs. And, the past couple of years, I think the weaknesses that they had and some of the numbers that they were putting up, whether it was those goal differential numbers, those 5-on-5 numbers, the scoring chance numbers, they lean so much on the power play.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little different now, it's when you get the points to rack it up, and all of a sudden you look at those standings, and I think you're starting to see it separate itself a little bit, the top half of the Atlantic versus the bottom half of the Atlantic, and they're obviously in that third spot, and that's just they've done a lot to really impress me the last couple of weeks, and before the break and after the break, and this seems to be more of a team that's kind of primed for postseason success, and now they're showing it. And it's to be honest, it's pretty fun to watch, because you go in the room and I think you see a confidence in this team now that maybe wasn't there, last year or even the year before. It does seem a little bit more like, to be honest, just being around this group, maybe more like that 2022 team, that went to the final, and obviously a lot of things have to go your way to get there. But I don't think they're scared of anyone right now. I don't think there's anyone that's really, in their way per se.
Why do you think that is, Ed? Like, is it the personnel difference? Is it having Gensel in there? Is it having Moser in there? Like, because it's just, I know those are just two guys, but I mean, Moser really seems to settle this defense playing with Victor Hedman, and then Gensel obviously with the 5-on-5 numbers. But is it that? Is it the guys taking the next step? Is it Cirelli and Hagel and Paul taking a more prominent leadership role, or is it guys Radish and getting better? You know what I mean? Guys like that.
Yeah, when you look at the questions that we saw, or the kind of what was missing in the beginning of the year, and what we see now, it's a much different team. And like you said, a lot of that has to do with some of that development, whether it's the Hagel and the Cirellis. I mean, coming into their own and really becoming elite two-way players. And obviously, like you said, Moser, you combine that and Moser coming back, and we talked about how the calmness that Ryan McDonough brings as well, right, on that blue line. When you combine that with Moser coming back, I think there's, this team has just really kind of grown into itself, and there's no doubt, like, you talk about guys like Paul and Hagel. These are guys that came in from the outside, at this time of the year. And, but with the idea that they were going to be a part of the next wave of bolts that were going to, try to lead this team back to a Stanley Cup. So those guys have been great. I know you talked to Nick about, being a guy who can play center, who can play wing and excel in both of those spots. And, you've seen that growth in his game as well, and even the guy like Gherkinsons, I asked Coop about this today. It's like, he's not going to blow you away with the numbers, and he never really has in his career, but the way he's played, I really like the way he's played. And I love the way he played the other night in the Hagel Cirelli line. And, when I always go back to, when we saw the Cup teams, and what made them great was, that you could throw lines out there that really, did a great job of being really hard to play against. And, we'll always talk about the Gord line with Billy Coleman and Barclay Goodrow for forever, but that really was the line that, and Cooper said talk about it today. I think, what is it? Blake Coleman's playing the 600th career NHL game tonight, and they don't win a cup without guys like that. Whether it was Goodrow, whether it was Coleman, obviously Gord, a huge part of it, and you look at the Panthers last year, and it became very obvious in the series against the Lightning is, they didn't have big names on that fourth line, but those guys were tough to play against, and that's how you get. That's how, not only how you make the playoffs, but that's how you survive in the playoffs is stuff like that. The Islanders teams for those years that you'd have a tough time now remembering the fourth line guys on well, not you can remember them, but those Islander teams when they made it to the cup to the conference finals, but those teams were built to be very tough to play against when it mattered the most in the playoffs. And I do feel that's really the difference right now is that this team is really becoming tough to play against, and there's so many things a part of it. It's the energy that the Cirelli line brings. It's some of this depth play that we're starting to see, whether it's on the defensive side of the puck or the offensive side of the puck, and obviously no matter what, at the end of the day, when they have 88 in goal, and he's playing the way that he's been playing is. You have a supreme confidence that you can, win games and overcome, the little bumps in the road that the playoffs bring.
Everybody remembers Casey Zizekas, Kyle Clutterbuck, and Matt Martin in that series at Encina. Come on now. You know the deal, brother. No, but what a great series. And you're right. The one goal that was scored in that game 7 was a shorthanded goal. And Cirelli and Hagel teaming up to put the puck in the back of the net. So, yeah, a great series there. And then obviously 1-0 in the game winner, Ross Colton from David Savard, from Ryan McDonough. A couple of goals that will live in memories, Tampa Bay Lightning fans forever. Do you think, and I asked Eric this yesterday, and I want to get your input because I don't know if he and I he said, no, it doesn't change. I think I might be leaning a little in the other direction. Do you think that the way that the team has played over the last couple of weeks has changed the way that Julien Brisebois is going to view the trade deadline?
In some ways, yes. In some ways, no, I think.
Right. I'm kind of with you there.
I mean, I do think that when you see certain contributions from certain players, you feel a little bit better about things.
Do you think they're feeling it? Do you think guys like Gonsalves and Gergensons are kind of looking at, because even the players are going to ask you, do you guys need to pick up some more players? Like, if you see that, you're kind of damning the players that you play with. Do you think they feel the heat a little bit too?
Right. Well, I think when you go in the room, there's definitely at this time of the year, guys hate answering those questions, right? Because they don't want to be disrespectful to the room that they have, and they don't want to think ahead of like, oh well, we need it, right? Now, obviously, we know that Julian's going to try to get a guy or two. He's done it every year. He's figured it out. The draft capital isn't as high as they've had, but they've still got some picks to move. No doubt. But it was interesting when we talked to Julian about like he kind of admitted his, quote unquote, maybe missteps a little bit at the trade deadline too. As much as we talk about Hagel and Paul and how great and how much of the identity that they've become a part of this team, he did say like sometimes there are misses like Tanner Jeannot.
He mentioned, and I was kind of unprovoked too. He mentioned that too.
Right.
So good on him.
To him because I've never necessarily heard him say that, and obviously you can't say it until you move a guy either, right? But I thought that was really interesting to hear when we talked to him. But obviously that was several weeks ago, and it always kind of changes through the week, day to day, stuff like that. But there's no doubt. I think that they still want to get that depth, scoring, and the defensive core. You can never have too much defenseman depth. Even though I do think that right now with Moser back, they do, you've got 7 guys and you've got Max Crozier in the minors and you've got some good people there. Radish obviously become, earned a role and with the different things that he's done, especially on the power play. And you never know, like you're one block shot away from losing a couple guys,
Right.
But, and again, the forward depth, the thing that's different this year, as opposed to all the other years, is that they have a lot of flexibility with the cap space. Like before I think even last year they were holding the Seabrook contract, which put him around LTIR, and then they went over LTI with the Sergachev injury. So they were able to, which actually helped them to go out and get guys like Dumba and Player. If they don't have that injury, they're actually right. They really don't have the ability to go out and get those guys. So that was actually interesting the way that happened. And when it happened, Julian was the whole time. He was like, listen, like, I want to make it clear. I'd rather have Mikhail Sergachev than have to like finagle with LTI. And he's always been this guy that, even though everyone talks about how the Lightning have used LTI to their benefit over the years, that you don't want to be in that situation, that you actually rather be in a situation like you are now, where you can almost stash cap space when you have that cap space. And it's obviously the reason why they've gone 12-6 for so long over the course of, during Moser's injury over those 2 months. So, you're in a different spot where you can actually kind of, you can decide whether, what kind of guy you need. And I think that's probably the biggest difference in last year is like they have the space to actually give themselves a little bit of flexibility. Whereas, last year, years before, you didn't have the space, you had to use LTI, and you probably needed to have help from another team to make a contract, that contracts work. So this year's in that context a little different. It opens a whole bunch of different doors for them in terms of what the next week could look like. I mean, like, I don't think it's going to happen, but like they could actually afford Mikko Rantanen.
Oh God,
if they were going to do that, I mean, I don't think that it's going to happen. I don't want to blow the doors off on that or anything like that, but like, when he's obviously a big name that everyone's talked about the past few days and weeks, but a couple years ago, you would throw it off the board right away. But it is possible with the money that they've saved and what they have available under the cap.
Yeah, that'd be wild. Be like, yeah, you know what? We're not going to sign it because there ain't no way you're not signing him if you bring him here, right? But if you wanted a rental for 1 year, yeah, you could bring him in if you could, where it wasn't even feasible in years past. Ed, what do you got up?
One other thing today is that, there's no doubt that I think, and maybe this kind of like maybe this kind of died down a little bit last year, but I do think that this is a place where guys do want to play, and that matters at the trade deadline. Right. And whether it, we saw that when Hagel and Paul came in, and you get the taste of chasing a cup and you want to be a part of it. But I honestly think some of the Four Nations stuff helps too. You see how those guys played, where there was Jake Gensel, whether it was the Canadian guys with the Sorelli line and or Victor Hedman, obviously the leadership that he brings, and everyone paid attention to that. The players paid attention to that too. So I'm not saying that they're going to trade for a guy that's going to they're going to sign for 7 years or anything like that. But you do think about that too when you're trying to acquire guys. And we didn't think about that necessarily then, but it is amazing to think about how much Julian did think for the future in those Paul and Hagel trades a couple of years ago. At that point, we're thinking, okay, these are two guys who are just going to help them get to the cup, the cup again, and another, maybe a three-peat. But the way those two guys will really become a part of the fabric of this organization, not just now, but over the next 5-6 years at, what are going to be really value contracts when we look at the way the salary cap is going to keep going up, is pretty amazing. So don't think that he's not thinking that as well.
Think about those deals too for Sorelli and Chernak, right?
Absolutely.
Those things would go up, and it didn't work out for Sergachev, but listen, he was trying to get out in front of a lot of that stuff. What do you got up right now on TampaBay.com/sports, the Tampa Bay Times sports section, all things Lightning?
Yes. So Romano wrote a column I think it was yesterday about just what to look at the trade deadline. Again, kind of what we're talking about. Julian's going to have his irons on the fire, and no doubt he's going to try to make some moves to make this team better, knowing that this team might be better positioned than last year's team or 2 years ago's team. I have a pretty cool story about a kid who is a former, grew up in the Tampa Bay area in Lakewood Ranch. His dad, I'm not sure Rob Aller, who was
So I saw the helmet. I took a picture the other day. Yeah.
So Rob used to be the Lightning TV producer for 17 years, and his son Nolan grew up loving hockey. He was a big Steven Stamkos fan. He was actually a Thunder kid back in 2012 when he was 12 years old, and always wanted to be a hockey player. but kind of got this bug through sim racing, and now is in his second year on the Indy Next circuit, which is, obviously they have their first race of the year at the Grand Prix in St. Pete. So this is his second year racing on that circuit. It's kind of basically the AAA of IndyCar. And but he was able to, through a lot of planning and work, he's going to wear a lightning themed race suit and helmet, which is totally, it's really cool. Like it's one of those fun stories. You got to get like the cross pollination of two different sports, but when you hear about the inner workings of getting this suit made to down to the details that Colton Wilson, the head equipment manager of the Lightning, basically sent in the colors, the specs, and everything like that.
Nice.
It basically looks entirely like the Lightning's third jersey, that black jersey with the stripes, and he's got the bolts going down the side and stuff like that. And then the paint job that he got on his helmet is actually done by Ray Bishop, who is like this famous, goalie mask painter. He's done Hasek and Belfour, Ryan Miller, guys like that. And they were able to basically get the look at Vasilevsky's mask, his current mask, and do kind of something off of that one. And you look at it, there's a lot of different homages to Vasilevsky's mask. So that was cool too. So it's a cool story. I think people will like it. And like you said, it's not inside hockey or anything like that. It's just kind of a cool story about a kid who grew up locally, and like it means a lot to him to do this, to wear this race suit in St. Pete. Like I said, he's from here. His dad played a big role in with the organization as in TV and on the TV broadcast, and so that was a fun one to write, and that one's online and in the paper, in the newspaper today. So it's cool when you get to write those stories, because it's kind of off ice, but still, and especially when you with the Grand Prix in town this weekend, there's no better time to really do it. And like I said, this I think Nolan really I can't really put into words how special I think he thinks this is for him to be able to do this. So
it meant a lot to him.
Yeah.
Go check it out, tampabay.com/sports. Sign up for the Tampa Bay Times today. Support local. I cannot stress that enough. Go get the hard copy when it's available. And always check out our guy, Eddie Encina, Eddie in the Yard on Twitter/X. Appreciate you, my friend. Enjoy your lunch. If you didn't eat it yet, I'm going to Publix now to go get me a sandwich. And I'll see you later on tonight at Emily. Appreciate you, bud.
All right, buddy. Take care. See you later tonight.
Throwing up the ones. Big Oos, Ed Encina. Great stuff, man. You got to go check out that story. Amazing. Really, really good stuff. I was able to get a picture the other day as well. All right, a big thank you to everybody who joined us on the program today. Eduardo, Ed Encina joining us on the program, JC Allen and Tracy West as well. ValsparChampionship.com. Go get your tickets. It'll be here just in a couple of weeks. We cannot wait. Lightning Flames tonight, Amalie Arena. Make sure you follow me at Jay Recher. I'll keep you up to date with everything that's going on during the game. And of course, post-game videos live from the Lightning locker room, including John Cooper as well. Back at home tomorrow at noon. We're going to do Eric Beatty and Eric Luxus tomorrow. Sickles, Strawberry Crest, two of the best high school coaches in the Tampa area. They're going to join us on the program, and we got some other irons in the fire as well. Go Rays, go Bolts, go everybody. I love you all. Thank you all for the support. Again, follow me at Jay Recher on all social media platforms, and like and subscribe on YouTube as well. That's going to do it for me. I got to go get some grub. Everybody be well. Go Bolts. I love you. I'm going.